Meta's Andromeda update changes the game. Last month, I had the opportunity to meet with our Meta reps in person at the Meta office in Toronto. So instead of speculating, I asked Meta directly how the system actually works now and what has changed behind the scenes, and most importantly, what advertisers need to do differently to win going forward. So let's dive into it. Today, we will be covering 6 main topics. And the first thing I want to communicate is that I have broken this out by timestamp in the description, so you can skip ahead. The first topic is what changed. So within Andromeda, within the algorithm, what actually changed in the delivery logic to serve ads to different people. The second is how does creative actually target new customers? So what does Andromeda read? What are the variables within a creative? The third is we're going to actually run a simulation of a side-by-side of the old system pre-Andromeda to the new system and how the budgets are being allocated based off of that structure. Fourth, we're going to walk through the consequences, what advertisers actually need to think about when they are structuring their media buying campaigns. The fifth is creative diversity, so the frameworks and the levers that need to be pulled that brands are oftentimes missing. And last but not least is the Similarity score, which is a score that Meta has to rank all of your ads. So let's get into section 1, what changed? And the headline of this is, instead of telling Meta, show my ad to people who like X, so in this case, we're gonna use fitness throughout the entire scenario today. Now Andromeda is asking, which ad is this person most likely to respond to right now based off of the content that they are watching right now or consuming right now. So previously, we would tell Meta who to target. We'd say, all right, we want to target females aged 35 to 54, located in urban cities, New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, etc. And they must like fitness. And there were different options for this, such as people who just like fitness, people who like, I don't know, Peloton or Bowflex. And so there were different ways of reaching that audience. And you would tell Meta, hey, I want this ad, which might be funny, might be educational, to reach this individual regardless of what they're consuming right now. Whereas Andromeda flips the script completely from who someone is to what they are doing right now and the content that they number one like to consume, but number two would respond to based off of the content that they are consuming at the very moment. If we are shifting away from who someone is and removing all the targeting to say, hey, here's an ad, Meta algorithm, figure it out. How do we know who we are targeting? And that's why Andromeda, this is the biggest variable, is creative is the new targeting. And so Meta now recommends keeping targeting broad. So as broad as you can go, the A+, Advantage Plus campaigns, and letting creative do the work. And so when you're uploading a creative, each creative is sending a signal that helps the algorithm decide who should see that ad. The more varied your creative is, the easier it becomes for Meta's algorithm to match the right ad to the right person. There is a vast amount of variables that go into how Meta's algorithm actually looks at the creative. But here are some variables that we need to keep in mind. Number one is the script. So what you're saying, the keywords within that script. Number two is the on-screen text. So we always recommend having captions. The visuals, the imagery. So again, if you're fitness, are you showing a Pilates studio or are you showing a CrossFit gym? The people featured. So if I'm trying to target 45 to 54, am I showing a 22-year-old doing Pilates? Or am I actually showing my ideal customer profile? The tonality will help the system understand whether we are trying to reach an individual who responds to educational content, maybe motivational content, or maybe some funny content, pacing, and then the color grading as well. So all of these are variables that Andromeda reads on every single ad to help define the pocket of consumers and audiences that will see that ad. So if you would like to target multiple pockets, what we need to do is vary the script, vary the visuals, vary the ICP in order to reach additional users. So let's walk through what that looks like in practicality. So what I've done here is I have put together a sample analysis of a fitness brand with the same ad set, the same targeting, and a hypothetical $1,000 a day budget, but completely different delivery logic. So pre-Andromeda, if we had one ad set, we would be saying these ads are for people who like fitness. We would be adding in the targeting. We would drop in, let's say, 3 ads, and the system would say, rotate my ads evenly within this ad set. That didn't always come to fruition in reality, but for the most part it did. And then everyone sees the same rotations of ads. But with Andromeda, we are not rotating evenly, but we're matching per person. So instead of saying these ads are for people who like fitness, we will be doing an A+ broad campaign, 25 to 54, with no, male versus female variables, no age demographics, none of that, and just dropping creative in. So the algorithm is going to figure out that if someone is watching workout videos, then they will likely be within that audience. And so we're no longer rotating ads evenly. The same 3 ads, which we'll go through in a moment, will engage with different content, right? So someone who's watching a lot of workout videos, that might actually become a non-equal rotation. So let's walk through this. In scenario number 1, pre-Andromeda, you're defining the audience, and Meta is rotating your ads evenly across that ad group. And everybody sees the same mix. So you'd have one campaign and one ad set. Fitness enthusiasts 25 to 45, for example, which is interest targeting. And then what we're seeing is that when you put together 3 different types of ads, an expert treadmill ad, which is an educational fitness video, a funny treadmill ad, which is humor driven, and then let's say a site-wide sale, which is a promo static, the system would roughly rotate these equally. $350 for the expert treadmill, $330 for the funny treadmill, and the site-wide sale at $320. The problem with this is that the budget is split roughly evenly regardless of what content is being consumed and what ad actually resonates with that person. So a fitness enthusiast who loves expert content can get a funny ad just as often as the educational one. When we move on to Andromeda and we actually run the simulation here, we have the same ad set, the same 3 ads, but now Andromeda reads each person's real-time behavior and picks the ad they're most likely to respond to. So for example, in the 25 to 54 audience of fitness enthusiasts, Sarah, who's 28, is browsing fitness content and is watching workout reels. So in that case, we're going to serve them an expert treadmill ad. Mike is scrolling memes and comedy, and he's engaging with humor. So Meta knows that that is the type of content that resonates with that profile. And the funny treadmill ad, which is humor driven, will be served to Mike. And Jess, who likes consuming educational content and reading health articles, will be served a site-wide sale static, which is value focused, matched to research oriented browsing. And so what you might end up having is the same structure in terms of campaign and ad set and ads, but because the expert treadmill, which is Sarah, who's watching workout videos and workout reels, is actually a much larger pocket of audience, that ad might serve a greater proportion of that $1,000 per day budget. So the difference here between Andromeda versus pre-Andromeda is that the budget is dynamically weighted based off of which ads find the larger audience pockets. The expert treadmill ad in this scenario finds a bigger engaged audience, so Andromeda allocates more spend there. The promo static resonates with a smaller pocket, and it still runs, but with less budget. It's the same targeting, the same ads, but Andromeda dynamically matches creative to behavior and shifts budget accordingly. So let's walk through the real consequences for advertisers and what actually comes out of this ginormous shift in how Meta dynamically serves ads. So the first is what we need to think about is, now that creative is the new primary targeting mechanism, is it still worth building interest audiences or lookalike audiences? Or do we start building out ad sets by, the second is the creative volume. So how much creative do I actually need to output now to feed the algorithm? And not just the volume, but volume based off of that particular category. So the funny ads versus the educational ads, and what is actually driving more volume in terms of purchases. The third is creative diversity. So what type of ad angles, ad formats, and quality level should I be producing? We're going to go into diversity in a moment, but are we talking high res, high dev, high level production? Or would you like to be doing more UGC, more founder led, more partnership ads, etc.? And then the launch cadence. How often should brands be relaunching ads? How long should they let them breathe? So you can no longer get legs by forcing an ad that is, call it educational content, into the realm of targeting with demographics, with interests. It is now going to be all broad. So in order to get more legs, we need to iterate on a higher cadence. So moving on, creative diversity is really the only way that you can target net new pockets of audiences. So within fitness, like I mentioned, Pilates versus CrossFitters versus Ironman versus runners, etc. So we're not just talking formats here. The real lever is messages. So we call them motivations. So what we want to do is try and support as many motivations as possible for the same product. So here's some ways that we can think about it. Our goal is to reach new pockets of audiences. So we have the same product and the same targeting, but the only differentiator that we have is our creative diversity. And creative diversity actually means customer motivator mapping. That's what it means. So different reasons is what you really need to understand of your brand. And why are people buying? Why are people buying certain products? Why are people choosing my brand over the competitors? And one way of doing that is really just understanding the micro and the macro. So on a macro perspective, in fitness, it might just be pricing, or product availability. On a micro, it might be, hey, we have the best customer service, we have local dealers, we have white glove delivery and setup, whatever it may be. And so we try and bucket those within a thought exercise and come up with different motivators and questions we want to ask in order to come up with the diverse types of creatives and messages that we want to put out there into the world. So for example, if someone is results-based, the question we might want to ask is, why would someone want to buy? They want visible, measurable results they can feel confident about. And so that ad angle might be, see results in 30 days or your money back. You might want to add a money back guarantee. And then you can start thinking about different formats under this diverse motivator in order to actually support and execute that message. So before and after UGC videos, maybe before and after static images, maybe just regular customer testimonials. Those can all speak to results, and results can mean something different for everybody. It can mean fat loss, it can mean muscle gain, it can mean general healthy living and health and wellness, whatever that may be. Another motivator might be, why are they hesitating? They might be afraid of missing a window. The sale might end, the stock may run out, right? So this is another angle, right? Countdown, social proof statics, you can do countdown GIFs, all of that fun jazz. Someone else might be motivated by the actual values and the savings, right? So what problem are they trying to solve? They're overpaying for something that doesn't work and they know it. So an ad angle could be, stop wasting money on products that don't deliver, right? And that's really a problem, an agitation problem, which we're trying to solve for. Social proof could be another one. So what do they care about most? This could be all over the map. Like I mentioned, like you could do customer based, you could do testimonial based, whatever that might be. Carousels, UGC videos, founder-led videos, anything that speaks towards social proof. The idea is that someone who is looking for results might be a completely different target demographic from someone who is looking for value and savings. It's the same product, we have the same broad targeting, but if you want to reach net new pockets, we find the motivator that drives the most volume at our target KPIs, and we iterate based off of that message. And it's not just creative diversity that drives net new delivery and preference in the algorithm. It's actually how similar your ads are. So let's say, hypothetically, that the results motivator is the motivator that drives the most sales. When we think about ad cadence and the type of ads that we're putting out there, Meta actually on the back end, and this was a huge unlock for us, but on the back end has a similarity score. So we can't see it as advertisers. It's not in your ad account. I asked the reps when it was coming, and they had a very ambiguous answer saying it's only available right now and they have to pull the reports themselves. But if you have a dedicated rep, you are able to get this answer. So Andromeda evaluates how similar your ads are to each other and assigns your account a score. They mentioned that these ads need to be meaningfully different from each other. So when we talk about all of these different variables, this all plays into the diversity score. Are the scripts exactly the same and you're using different creators? Do the creators all look the same? Are you varying visuals? Is the tonality different? Is the color grading exactly the same for each ad? That all plays into a similarity score. Diverse set of creatives, meaning it is not similar, then you have a healthy score, you get preferential CPMs, you unlock net new pockets. But as you go and iterate and you have similarity scores based off of all these variables and the overlap, what tends to happen is that you start to get warnings. And they had mentioned that 65%, anything below 65%, you're okay. And we had an account that we showed them that had about 200 ads running. They were all different and they were still like 60% or 58% similarity score, something like that. But if you are having trouble with your CPM skyrocketing, it's likely an indication that the same group of people shown the ad repeatedly. So higher ad fatigue, higher CPMs, weaker performance. It's time to rethink your creative strategy. So one call out is some advertisers think that all the ads are different. They'll copy the hooks, the visuals, etc. But the algorithm sees the same structure, the same message, the same pacing, everything is reworded, it's still similar. So what you need to do is ensure that you truly have different motivators, different formats, different hooks, different USPs that are being displayed in order to drive those CPMs down, hit your net new audiences, and ensure that we are launching at a very regular cadence so that we can continue to improve on the motivators that are working. The bottom line is Meta doesn't need more ads, it needs meaningfully different ones. Similarity scores are currently only available through your Meta reps. So what's the takeaway from all of this after sitting down for 2 hours with my reps in Toronto? Targeting alone won't save performance anymore. Creative variety isn't optional. The accounts that win will be the ones that understand how Meta actually delivers ads today. And if you need help with understanding your creative diversity, how to target, how to unlock motivators, please subscribe to our newsletter. We send out net new content every week about conversations that are actually happening with our 6, 7, and 8-figure brands that we manage right now, or book a strategy call with us. The link is in the description below. Thank you. See you next time.